Kita niyo, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
So, dire ka nag-stop, ma'am, sa Unit 15, which is the internal parasites of ruminants.
Okay, so can continue now.
Yeah, so, good evening, ma'am. Good evening, classmates. So, I'll continue my report about the sheep, cattle, and goat. So, Unit 15, the internal parasites of ruminants. Small worms can infect sheep, cattle, goats, and buffalo and live in the animal's gut, lungs, liver, and blood. These worms are called parasites in the animals they live in is called the host. The parasite feed of the host, which becomes weak, losses of weight, develops disease, and can die. So the learning of so kaning mga parasites mura lang siya kanang kuto, murag kuto or mga na pwede makatag og kanang weaknesses o kanang losses of weight sa mga cattle or sheep o buffalo o pwede po siya makatag og kanang disease or na pwede mamatay ang mga animals. So the learning objectives after studying this unit, you should know what is a parasite, how animals become infected, the problems caused by parasites, how to control parasites. So what is parasite? Parasite lives in or on another animals and feeds on it. All animals and humans can become infected with parasites. Ruminants can be infected with several types of worms. Roundworms are small, often white in color and look like threads. Different roundworms are found in all parts of the gut and the lungs. So next, next the tapeworms are long and flat and look like white ribbons. They consist of many segments and live in the intestine. So the flukes are flat and leaf-like. They live in the liver. Schistosomes are small and worm-like. Both infect animals kept on wet, marshy ground as their eggs develop in water. So, muna siya mga na sample picture dire na muna siya mga example picture sa mga parasites. Muna siya ang roundworms, tapeworm, the fluke o kaning schistosomes. How do animals become infected with parasites? The roundworms, flukes, and schistosomes lay eggs which pass out the animals in the dung onto the pasture. Tapeworms produce eggs in the segments which break off and pass out in the dung. Animals become infected with the graze in the pasture. So kaning kaning roundworms, flukes, so kaning schistosomes. So kasagaran ma-infect ang mga especially kaning mga cattle, parang ginakuan sila, ginatugboy sila. Murag diha nila makuha ang kaning mga klase nga parasites. So the effects of parasites on the animals. Parasites feed on the food in the gut on the blood of the host. The animals become weak and loses weight or does not gain weight. It can develop diarrhea, which is sheep makes the wool wet and attracts flies. Eventually, the host becomes so weak that it dies. Young animals are especially affected by the parasites. So nabutang dire. So delikado gyud ang parasites kay wala siya nagapataw og kanang weaknesses, then nagahatag siya og kanang losses weight sa cattle or na breed nya dili po siya nagagain og kanang weight food. Then kasagaran naga-atake ang mga parasites kay katong mga bata pa na mga animals. So next, control of parasites. We can control parasites by killing the worms within the body, reducing the chances of the animal become infected on pasture. So ano siyang sample kung sa pag-control sa parasites. The worms can be killed inside the host by giving it a drug. So muna siyang sample pang-control sa parasite na inabutan diri si R11 o kaning Annex 1. The drugs are given by the drenching tablets or injection. Ask your veterinarian when and how often you should treat your animals. In order to cut down the chance of the animals becoming infected, if possible, move stock to new pasture every 1 to 2 weeks. Young animals should be separated from old animals and allowed to graze fresh pasture first. If cattle, sheep, and goats are kept in the same area, let the cattle graze the pasture before the sheep, as some worm which would infect the sheep will not infect the cattle. If animals are kept in an enclosure, removing the dung and disposing of it will prevent the animals picking up more worms or other becoming infected. Do not allow animals to graze on marshy ground or on pasture where the grass is very short. When animals have been treated, turn them out onto fresh pasture. So next, the unit 16, which is the external parasites of ruminants. Ruminants can be infected by several parasites of the skin, which is the external parasite, which feed on the animal skin and blood. The parasites cause diseases, same Japan ganina. Then parasites can also carry other infection and spread diseases from one animal to another. Some of these diseases can kill. So learning objective, after studying this, you will know what parasite can be found in the ruminants, the problem caused by the infection with the parasites, how to treat and control infections with the parasites. So all animals and man can be hosts to parasites which live on the skin. These parasites look like insects. So kani na sample picture dere kung unsa gyud ang parasites, no. Para sa ako na nakita ninyo sa mga iro pod niani na mga kuan. So mice are very small and cannot be seen without microscope. So gamay gining mites na klase. They live and lay their eggs on the skin. So lice or a singular is are big enough for you to see. Man can be infected with a head louse. Cattle, buffalo, sheep, and goats can be infected with a different lice which attack the body, legs, or tail region. Lice live and lay their eggs on the skin among the hair or wool. Wala lagi sa. Napa ko, ma'am?
Yes, napaka-clear.
So next, ticks are bigger than lice and can be as big as fingernail. Young ticks have 6 legs while adults have 8 legs. All ticks feed on the blood of the host and drop onto the pasture. They lay their eggs on the ground. Some ticks live on one host while other may live on 2 or different animals throughout their lives. So muna siyang klaseng parasites, no, kaning ticks nakita kasagaran jud makita pod di sa iro jud. So problems caused by external parasites. Mites cause mange. Saan magbasa? Saan siya pagbasa, ma'am? Mange, man. So they infect the head, legs, body, or tail region, causing the skin to become crusted and cause loss of hair and wool. The infected area itches and the animal scratches. The host does not feed well. The infection causes loss of valuable wool in sheep and damage hides of cattle and goats. So daghan jud og daghan siyag matag nga problem, especially sa mga sheep kay madaot jud ilang wool. Sometimes young animals become infected with a skin disease called ringworm. Ringworm causes circular with patches on the skin which do not itch. Animals can have both mange and ringworm. and large areas of skin may be affected. So, muna siyang sample picture sa na-infect na kita sa ringworm. So next, lice also cause irritation of the skin and the animal's scratches, rubs, and bites the infected areas. The host loses or does not gain weight and looks in poor condition. Both lice and mites can pass from one animal to another. Biting and scratching are the first sign of infection. If you examine the animal, you will be able to tell if the skin problem is caused by lice or mites. If lice are on the animals, you will find them in its coat. If you do not see any, the animal probably has managed caused by the mites. So ticks are very important parasites. They bite the host and suck its blood in full when full drop off onto the pasture where they can live for many months without feeding again. Animals can be poisoned or paralyzed by the bites of some ticks. Ticks also spread diseases, tick-borne diseases which can cause death of the host. Ticks cause the loss of meat, wool, milk, and leather. So next, treatment and control. Mites and lice are controlled by washing the infected area, spraying or dipping the animals. So for example, dipping or spraying Annex 3 with a suitable treatment like R15 Annex 1. All of the flock or herd must be treated to ensure control. Some animals can be infected but show little or no sign of infection, and the parasites will spread from them to other animals if they are not treated too. If an animal has only a few ticks, this can be carefully pulled off, making sure the mouth parts of the tick are removed. Rubbing ticks with a cloth, soap, and kerosene or paraffin will make them drop off the host. Large numbers of ticks are treated using sprays and beeps like R16 Annex 1, and it will be necessary to treat all of the herd or flock. Moving animals to different pastures and dristing the contaminated pasture of a length of time can help to control the ticks. Cutting the bushes and plowing the affected area can help to control ticks. Large numbers of ticks can be found around water holes and animal shelter. Keeping poultry in these areas can help to reduce numbers of ticks as the birds will eat them. So next, the unit 17, which is the sign of feet, or oistros and ruminants. So heat or oistros is the period when the female will accept the male and mate. They are signs which mark oistros in all ruminants. Recognizing with a female is on heat, which means you will know when to put her in male or use artificial insemination or AI. So the learning objectives after studying this unit, you should know what is heat or oistros. Recognize when a female. Ano ma'am? Oistros. Estrus. Sorry ma'am. Thank you ma'am. Know what the sign of heat are in different ruminants. How long estrus lasts in different animals. So what is heat? The female reproductive system in, you can see it at unit 3, consists of 2 ovaries in the womb. Every so often, the ovaries produce very small eggs, which is the ova. The time when happens is called heat or estrus. Cattle and buffalo regularly come into heat all year round. Most sheep and goats come into heat a particular time of the breeding season. So what is heat? Mo na siyang marag time na siya na marag i-accept na niya ang, for example, cattle mag-heat siya. So ready na siya mo accept sa lalaki para mag-mate silang duha. Then knowing when an animal is in heat. If you know when an animal is in heat, you can introduce her to a chosen male for mating, or you can arrange for her to artificially inseminated or AI if the service is available. You will also be able to identify animals which do not go into heat. The best time to look for signs that the female is in heat is early morning or in the evening. Take care not to disturb the animals but just watch the animals for signs. So sa nakabatan dre, kung gusto daw ka makabalo, kung for example ang cattle nagahit na siya, you can introduce daw sa napili na lalaki na yung kuan, then pwede po ka mag-arrange na magpa-kuan lang, magpa-artificially inseminated lang. So signs of heat: ruminants can be kept on pastures or they may be stabled or tied up for most of the time. It is therefore necessary to consider this when looking for signs of heat. So number 1, signs of heat in free animals at pasture. Most female in heat will allow other animals to mount them. So cows in heat will mount one another from the rear or front or from the front. However, the cow on top may not be on heat. The vulva becomes swollen and the area around the tail becomes weak and dirty. If cows sniff each other's vulva and urine, they may both come into the heat. Cows can come into heat if they stand resting the chin on the back of another are seen to lick or gently butt each other. Restless and calling loudly can also mean the female is coming into heat. Goats in particular become noisy. So sabotable naman ang mga signs of heat. So muna siya sample picture kung sa cattle, muna siya mga sample picture sa heat. Makita na natin sa kasagaran sa iro, napon sa iring. Wala pa lang ko, pero wala po kita sa kan. Na si Yuyu. And kan. So number 2, signs of heat in the stable or tied animals. The animal should be allowed out twice a day when they can be watched for signs of the heat. If the female is not allowed out, then the following will show that she is in heat. Swallowing vulva, the animal is active, there's a loss of appetite, and she calls loudly. And milking animals, the amount of milk produced suddenly drops, and jelly-like mucus can be found on the floor with a dung. You will need to recognize the difference between signs of heat and signs of ill heat in the animals which is tied up. So when do animals come into heat for the first time? Animals come into heat when they reach puberty. This occurs at different ages in the different ruminants. So example, well-fed cows and buffalo come into first heat at 10 to 20 months of age. Sheep and goats come into first heat 6 to 12 months of age. So nadre mo ma-determine kung kanus naga-hit ang mga, for example, kanay buffalo o sa sheep o goats. How long does heat last? The duration of heat is very short. In cows and buffalo, it lasts for less than a day. In goats, heat lasts for 1 to 3 days. In sheep, heat lasts for 1 to 2 days. A healthy animal which was not mounted by a male or given artificial insemination will come back into heat. Cattle and buffalo cows will come into heat after 3 weeks or take a day or 2, and female goats and sheep will come back into heat after 17 days or take a day or 2. Then next, the female which does not come into heat. The female may not show signs of heat because she is too old, or she may have been mated without the owner knowing. Sometimes animals came into heat without showing any signs. This is called a silent heat and is common in buffalo cows. If the heat is not sufficient or there is a lack of protein, salts, or water, the animals can fail to come into heat. you will need to improve the female's feed to bring into heat. So, kailangan yun mo siya i-ready para, kailangan mo siya kanang palagaan og tarong, kanang pakanonin mo mga puting nga pagkaon, then salts and water, paspasan mo kanang tubig para dili po siya ma-dehydrate. So, Unit 18, the pregnancy in ruminants. Many animals mate sperm from the male joins when the eggs is in the womb. Heat then finishes in the belly of the female enlarge over several months as the young grow during pregnancy. So these are the learning objectives. After studying this unit, you should know what happens during pregnancy, the signs of pregnancy, and management of the pregnant animal. So what is pregnancy? When the male mates with the female, he deposits sperm in the vagina. The sperm joins with the egg and forms the embryo, which becomes attached to wall of the womb. The embryo grows within a bag of fluid or water bag. It is attached to the wall of the womb by a navel cord. So signs of pregnancy. Heat stops when pregnancy begins. The animals become quieter and the belly grows bigger. In milk animals, the production of milk will gradually drop. So, ano siya mga signs sa kung buntis ang sa kakuan, naga-stop na yung heat, then maghilom na siya, then magdako ang tiyan, marami sa tao, then sa milk production sa animals, gradually drop lang. So, length of pregnancy. If male and female animals have been allowed to run together in a large herd, it will be difficult to determine the expected time of birth or parturition. If, however, you don't know when a female was mated or given artificial insemination, you can determine when she will give birth. The length of pregnancy differs in the different animals. So, ano siya mga length of pregnancy sa cow na ay 280 days, sa buffalo 320 days, sa sheep 150 days, and sa goat same na sa sheep 150 days. So management of the pregnant animals. You must remember that a pregnant animal will need more feed and will benefit from the addition of some grain to the feed towards the end of pregnancy. So kung ang animals buntis, siyempre kailangan mo siya pakanon og taman kung kulang kay banatan siguro. Then all pregnant animals should be kept close to home towards the end of the pregnancy, and some form of shelter should be provided. They should be watched twice a day for signs that parturition is close. In particularly, cattle and buffalo need a clean, well-ventilated place, and preferably with a sand or grit floor on which suitable bedding is placed. Do not keep a pregnant animals constantly tied up or with a little room to exercise in. Allow her some freedom in a field or yard each day. She should be observed closely twice a day for sign of parturition. So next, the unit 19, the calving or the parturition. Calving is a natural process which animals takes place without help. Close observation is required in case the cow has difficulties. Cows calving for the first time tend to have more problems than older cows and therefore need more attention when calving. So, learning objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to know the signs of calving, recognize a normal calving, help the cow which has difficulty in calving. So, care the cow immediately after calving. And last, care for the newborn calf. The signs of calving, you will know that the cow is about to calve or give birth when you see if the belly has increased in size, especially on the right flank. The other is piling up on the teeth are stiffening. The vulva becomes red and swollen when the presence of mucus and blood-colored fluid. the animal is restless, the water bag appears at the vulva. So the normal calving. The normal calving is a water bag appears through the vulva. The cow will strain more. The head of the calf will appear in the breaks of the bag. You will then be able to see both of the calf's front feet. It takes 4 to 6 hours for the calving to reach the stage. In heifers, it might take longer. As the chest comes through the vagina, the calf starts to breathe. So muna siya ang sample picture sa normal calving. Makita mo dere duha ka tail nag-una then ang ulo rin. So it is better to leave the cow alone to give birth naturally. However, if you want to help with the calving, you can gently pull the calf by its feet. If the navel cord is still attached to cow, you can cut it with a clean sharp knife or a pair of scissors. Then put tincture of iodine or alcohol on the end of the navel cord. Sometimes the back feet of the calf appears first. You can tell the back feet from the front by looking carefully. You will see the back feet come out from the vulva with the holes of the feet showing uppermost. You should then feel with your hands for the tail and the hop joints. So next, the difficulties in calving. Leave the animals to give birth naturally. If difficulties occurs, you may find only the head of the calves appeared. The head and one foot has come out. Two front feet showing but no head. So muna siya ang mga signs na kabutang nire kung difficulty sa calving. If this happen, you should either ask the veterinarian to help or help the cow yourself. So kung dili ka kabaloan so kailangan nyo kang matawag veterinarian or kung kabalo ka, pwede ra ikaw. So you will need a bar of soap, hot water, and clean rope and clean vegetable oil such as olive or sunflower. Wash the area around the vulva and wash your hands well. Make sure that your fingernails are cut short and are truly clean. Long nails can injure the animal. If you have oil, put some over your hand and arm. If not, soap your hand and insert it into the vagina to discover what is wrong. So you will need to recognize the difference between the front and back legs of the calf in the womb. Touch the fetlock joint and then run your hand up the leg to the next joint. There will be a knee joint on the front leg and a hook on the back leg. Push the calf either to one side or back into uterus so that you can correct the situation and move the head and legs into the right place of birth. So, muna siyang sa difficulties. When the calf's head and the legs are... Dahil lang, mama. Saba. Dahil ko, ma'am. So, when the calf's head and legs are in the correct position, tie a clean rope around both feet. Pull gently on the rope. You may need someone to help you pull. So, caring for the cow after calving. Give the cow clean water to drink immediately after she has calved, as she will be thirsty. The water bag or after the birth will come out naturally, but you can help to remove it by gently pulling it. The afterbirth, you should have come away by 24 hours after the birth. If the afterbirth remains in the uterus, it will cause an infection, and you will need to get your veterinarian to help. So after calving daw sa mama na cow. So atagan dahil mo siya og clean water para makainom dahil siya kay after calving she will be daw thirsty. Then caring sorry ma'am. So caring for the newborn calf. Always handle the calf carefully. Clean the mucus or sticky fluid from the nose and mouth and check that the calf is breathing normally. If it is not breathing, you must act immediately by pump the chest with the palm of your hand. Keep the calf's head lower than its back. Insert a straw into its nose in attempt to make it sneeze and start breathing. Next, allow the calf to suckle from its mother as soon as possible so it takes in the colostrum. The yellowish milk, which is produced immediately after birth. The colostrum is rich in protein and protects the calf against disease. So some people use the colostrum for their food, but it's essential to make the calf strong and healthy and should be left for the calf. So, kaning colostrum, makatabang ni siya para sa mga newborn calf. So next, the lambing and kidding or the parturition. Lambing and kidding, like calving, are natural processes which normally take place without help. Observation is required in case there are any difficulties. Sheep and goats, unlike cattle and buffalo, may frequently have twins, 2 young, or triplets, 3 young. So these are the learning objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to recognize the signs that parturition is beginning, know when parturition is normal, assist with parturition when necessary, care for the mother and newborn. So these are the signs of parturition. You will know when the goat or sheep is about to give birth as the animal skips away from others. The vulva is swollen in the loose. The animal becomes restless and does not eat well. A discharge from the vulva will start a few days before parturition, and the sheep will lie down and stretch the neck back to look at the sky or stargazing and lick its lips. Then last, the sheep will strain to push out the lamb. So muna siya ang sample picture sa stargazing sa sheep. The stargazing siya kung paano siya marag sign. Isa sa mga sign na matag na siya, mga anak na siya. So the normal parturition. Animals may give birth while standing or lying down. The head and both front legs appear while sometimes both the hind legs will appear. The young mother may have some problems in giving birth. Next, when and how to help in parturition. As with the calving at Unit 19, the young may be in abnormal position and the birth is difficult. If you want to help, you will need a bar of soap. Na-explain na ako na kaganina. Then scrub your hands and fingernails. Then wash the area around the vagina. Soap your hands well and insert one hand into the vagina. When you have found what the problem